breaking down risk management problems bit by bit until we find a solution. If you would like to discuss anything you hear on GPP with us, please reach out using the links in the description. Enjoy today's episode. Hey Brandi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, and guest host, Mr. Andy Bassett.
Yep, got to fill in for Elliot here every now and then, keep everything on the up and up, I suppose.
Yeah, well, in classic Bassett fashion, we will measure the views between the episodes, and we'll actually find that out.
Brandi, this one's on you.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Well, we're actually looking forward to this today because I think you bring a different view, no pun intended, to the whole thing when creating client experiences and whatnot, and then how that translates into, archaic transactional industries like the risk management space.
Yes, that would be fair. And Brandi, experiences are her business, that's for sure. So, and I've seen it. What you guys have done is awesome at a View Venues. But maybe just share quickly for the audience what is a View, what are the venues, kind of the history.
Yeah, sure. No, that's great. It is an event center that we started out primarily with weddings back in 2008, grew to our second location in 2010, still primarily doing weddings. And then in 2014, we expanded with a large building that we could host up to 3 events, and that was in 2014. And that is really when we started dipping into a lot of corporate clients. So coupled with our weddings, corporate, it was a home run.
Yeah.
And then we continued to grow and just got done building we moved one of our locations out to the lake into a larger location. So we now have 3 still, but 2 large locations, 1 medium-sized location.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
And a wide range of different atmospheres.
Correct.
On a lake, kind of in a forest, for lack of better terms.
Correct.
And then
kind of in the country.
out in the country.
Yeah.
So very cool places.
And that's where our culture, a view. So every one of them has a view.
Yeah.
And we're not competing against ourselves. So if you like one item, you're probably not the client at my other location. So we really can capture the majority of the audience in what they're looking for.
Well, that's cool. I've gotten to know Brandi and her family for a long time. And so for anybody that is listening to this, they certainly should go check out one of the locations for anything they're doing because they are very awesome. You guys have done a tremendous job.
Well, thanks. And like I said, we specialize in any size. And that's what's great is, we get some smaller companies like, oh, you're too big. We're not. We've really positioned ourselves to compete with any space that you don't want to do it in your house. So if your office is too small, your house is too small, we can do 30 people, 25 people. I can do 900 people. So, and it's all going to come down with the same, level of care.
Nice. Well, I think you mentioned a couple things to kind of dive in here a little bit around, you are not competing against yourself when it comes to different locations, and you have these different locations, and it sounds like you've really kind of tried to define who you're going after, or at least have a process to define what client would be a good fit at what location. I'll kind of tie the dots back to the risk management space here in a little bit, but walk us through that process.
Sure. So most people haven't planned multiple events, usually not multiple weddings, of what they're trying to get to at this. And so they'll call us.
Are you talking about the client?
I'm talking the client. Yeah, I'm talking the client because
most clients that get married, they haven't done any, maybe their high school graduation, right? Or college graduation.
Right, or their best friend's wedding.
Right, there you go.
And so they come to us with an idea that they think they have, but it's really up to us to develop that idea for them, and to help give them questions and lead them down the path that they're really looking for. So they may call us and want to see a particular location, which we right away jump in. What is your guest count? Things that they don't put a lot of value to, which really actually defines what their event is going to be about.
Yeah.
And help direct them to, is a lack of better terms, not waste time.
Yeah.
Everybody's time is valuable, and so we want to give them the best product as quickly as we can and paint their picture.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and I'm sure it really comes to life for them when you're walking them through that process and trying to describe what life could look like or that event could look like.
Correct. Well, and a lot of times it's at that point we're still not describing what it's going to look like. We're really just trying to get the basis, just your high level, your guest counts. What do you like? If you don't like trees, you probably don't want to be at my Fondell Hills location, which is all trees. But those aren't questions that they're going to think about. I have to prompt those just to get them started. We don't really get into what do you like as, what do you visualize until they're in our space.
Okay.
And that's where we've set ourselves apart from others, is creating that experience when they walk in the door.
Do you do that initial meeting? Is that in person or on the phone? Or how do you typically do that?
Sure. The very first getting their information is on the phone.
Okay.
It's questioning it to see if I'm a good fit, because they may have a budget that doesn't even come close to what we offer, whether it be high or low.
Right.
And so again, I'm not going to waste their time and have them come in and they're like, well, this isn't what I thought it was. So we do ask a lot of leading questions to make sure we're a good fit. With the internet and everything they can research right now, they have the ability to look at photos to get an idea of what we do, read reviews, see how we handle our clients. So by the time they're walking in my door, now it's just a matter of, is the picture that I can paint for you match your vision?
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And, all the things are running through my head with target market and
discovery, right?
Yeah. Brandi, like in our industry, in the risk management space, there's kind of the old school way of doing business is being everything to everyone.
Sure.
And we got to help specifically depending on the community that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a strong feeling of, well, we've got to try to serve everybody no matter where they're at. And what we consistently find in every industry, no matter who we're talking about, whether it's banking or accounting or event planning, that it's really it's difficult to be able to execute on that, and being able to know who you serve and ask those questions and figure that out is key.
Yeah, that's just it, is having some process. I used the word discovery just a minute ago because that's what our industry just fails in a lot of regards, in going through that process, asking the questions, understanding what a prospective client might actually be looking for or might maybe require from a deliverable, and whether or not that's something that actually fits your model. That's what you just said.
Right.
You're going through whether that's in that phone call or if it's in person or however you're doing that discovery before they walk in, to get to the experience that we're going to talk about in a minute. Before they walk in the door, you have a pretty good idea whether or not your business is able to kind of cater to what they're needing, if they're a fit, right? Is that a fair?
100%, because they may not even know that that's an option, because they have never done it before. And so if you, as the expert, because they're looking at you, they're really asking you to hold their hand, tell me if this is right for me, or tell me if this is not right for me. And so they don't know what questions to ask, because their first question is, how much does it cost?
Yeah.
That's because that's the only question they know
And your
how
answer
to
is,
ask.
it depends.
Well, we do have a pretty standard, start point, but still at the end of the day, cost doesn't reflect the value.
Right.
And so you have to have the leading questions. What is your guest count? What is your vision? Do you live in town? Do you want to do all your own? So you start with a lot of those preliminary questions to find out what their feel is to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Then what their question, they will come in with what's it cost, some of the basic stuff. But you need to have the more sophisticated questions to ask them.
Yeah. So have you always been intentional with that, I'll call it like pre-qualification call, or is that something you stumbled on after learning the hard way a few times about giving tours and people coming in and having wrong expectations? Like, is it something that you learned, or have you just always done it from day one?
Oh yeah, no, we learned.
I was pretty sure I knew the answer.
Oh yeah, we learned. First it was, we just wanted everybody in our door because I'm sure I can sell you what I had.
Yeah.
Okay, no. They knew. When they walked in, now you've wasted an hour of my time because I have you down for an hour tour, and I've wasted 5 5 minutes of your time because now you're just humoring me and standing there. It's
Right.
uncomfortable for you and uncomfortable for me. It's like super awkward.
Yeah.
So no, we totally learned that, and it was slow growth. We had been in business pre-Pinterest and pre-Facebook. So at that point, we didn't even have those tools to help us. But as the time grew and people started expressing what their interests are, we're like, if we looked at our statistics, the amount of contracts I signed from people that I didn't ask these questions from were very low. So why would I waste? And I don't no, it's never a waste, but there's a better use of our time.
Sure.
To bring
Why
in the
would you
people who are
focus?
interested in what we have.
Parallels are just mind blowing. We're talking about insurance and risk management and wedding or venues in the broader sense, but the parallels are amazing. So a question that discover, because we're going to get to the next phase, I think, which is that experience, which I know you guys do at a pretty unique and high level, which is awesome. But still kind of wrapping up maybe on the this discovery piece. Do you think that you're relatively unique and that you learned this over time and figured out a good process to kind of figure this stuff out on the front end, or do you see your competition doing similar things or missing the boat in that area? Or
Sure. No, it's a great question. I think our competition misses the boat a lot because they don't listen to their client. And it's like I said, if you don't change with everything, you're going to be left behind. And we hear it a lot of times, like, oh, I went here and I didn't know. So there was all this. Right now, I would say that the generation, or what the client is, that everyone's dealing with today, they want information and they want accurate, honest information. And so we pride ourselves in that because we do. We do that pre-qualification. I'm at 3 different locations with 4 salespeople. I need to make sure that I'm sending them to the right locations with the right amount of tours and making sure that they can take care of the client who is interested in what we have to offer versus not asking the question, spending a lot of time trying to convince them outside of any kind of knowledge base that they may have. So yeah, I'm thankful that nobody really listens to their client. But again, that's where we're successful. We listen to the client.
such an easy thing to do.
Very
right?
simple.
I don't know.
It's simple, not easy.
That's probably fair.
Very fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
See?
Very fair.
That's why he leads these.
We talk about it a lot. I mean, I think it was in the last episode where we were talking. It's the same conversation. It's a skill that needs to be worked on and developed over a period of time. So, you can listen and then you can actively listen, and those are 2 different things. So, it is really interesting how far apart the industries are, and yet how similar the world turns when it comes to relationships and adding value. So, on those lines, Brandi, I know you guys pride yourselves in creating sweet experiences, and I don't know this to be fact. I would assume that nobody is jumping up and down with how amazing the experience is at an insurance shop. Like,
Not very often.
it's just a wild guess. But walk us through kind of what you guys are doing on that end of it, and what you've leaned into for trying to create those experiences for the clients that just leaves them super excited on potentially one of the biggest days in their lives.
Sure. So, I mean, it starts again, obviously from the phone call, getting some basic information being just both of their names. Sure, she may be touring and he is tagging along, not super excited, but at the end of the day, if you don't acknowledge both of them, I don't need to win her, I need to win him. Because when she goes home and she's seen 7 different ones, like, la, 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 all this stuff, he'll remember the one who handed him the beer, who engaged and made sure at a football game playing if there happened to be Huskers. You know what I mean? So we go the extra step to make sure that the person who is actually least interested, so they think, is the one that is wooed the most, because they're going to remember that.
I think that's such a powerful takeaway.
Yeah.
Like the spouse in any conversation, in any transaction, because it's flipped depending on what you're purchasing, and like you better be wooing the spouse's socks off when the husband's delirious and can't make a decision.
I mean, think about how many times in our business you go through the sales process and you're like at the 1 yard line of bringing somebody on as a client, and you find out that you weren't actually communicating to the right decision maker or getting the right message to the person that's ultimately making the decision because you didn't do the right discovery, you didn't pay attention, and that causes, you've got everything is completely a done deal, but the person you really needed to be getting the message to was completely missed. Yeah. It happens all the time.
We ask that, like, are you ready to make a decision? Oh, we need to show my mom around. Awesome. Can she come to the tour? I mean, and that's on the phone call. Oh, she can come? Absolutely. And so we need the person who's going to say yes, on the spot. So they're walking in the door. We have their name. Welcome to A View Venues, Amber and Mike, spelled correctly. So, again, so right away it's personalized to them. Yeah. They're not just another number when they're coming in. We usually do some background checking, Facebook, Instagram. What can we find easily? I mean, we don't get creepy. But I mean, if you search their name and her entire profile is pink, well, I'm going to have pink downlights on in my room, because I need her to see herself here. And then he's following along with a beer. Yeah. So those are the things we start to say, show people. And then again, for us, what makes our industry different, or what we do different in the industry, is a lot of places will walk into an empty room. This is the space. They need to see, they need to visualize. We set our rooms, we put our china out, it's a lot of extra work. Yeah. Don't take me, it's not easy. Yeah. But everything is done just about the way it would be when they walked in for their day. Yeah. So now they can picture, this is what it looks like with 200 people in this room. That's what that backdrop is. I like that. So now I've painted the picture. So I've given them the attention to detail when they're walking in the space. We know a lot about it before they're even touring. And I guess I missed a step. When they do walk in, we sit down. We don't jump into the tour right away. We do ask a lot of leading questions. We have an entire sheet of what are you looking for, colors, pets, parents, sizes, anything unique, fun. What is it you want
charge
to see?
Anything for that process, Brandi?
No.
Yeah.
No, because we've pre-qualified them before they've even walked in the door.
So you're comfortable making the investment.
Right. Yeah.
Do you track all the stats of, how many calls you do, how many tours, and how many events you ultimately
we've got the funnel, my friend. We have the funnel. It goes like this, Yeah. So, but you have to, and that's just part of it. So I have 9 people who can answer the phone. I have 4 people that can tour. And then, so it funnels down to what my staff can all, there's certain levels of expectation. When the phone rings, you should answer it. But the tour, you may have to wait 24 hours to get in because I only have so many times I can tour. But even at that, it's time sensitive. If you call me today, I'm not going to get you in next Tuesday because somebody else is going to get you in on Monday. So I have my core group who can tour with you today or tomorrow. I have my decor team who could show you around. They're not my sales team, the next day. And then I have Brittany so we have a path. If you want to see this venue by tomorrow, I will figure out a way to show it to you in your time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you asked the question a little bit already, Ryan, but that investment on the front end between, like you said, most places you're going to walk into are empty. You're taking the time, energy, effort to set the stage, to create the experience. In our business, nobody wants to invest on the front end to create the experiences to potentially bring on the right target market clients. So you guys have a very distinct process you're going through from a pre-qualification through that experience to make sure that you're investing the right amount of time. You're willing to invest. You already said, I'm willing to invest this on the front end to make sure that we're getting the right people in our doors, touring our facilities, to ultimately have the best experience. And you guys are winning then the deal, right? You're closing the deal because of it.
And we're closing them with knowledge.
Yeah.
Because it also saves us so much time on the back end when they're like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't bring in a caterer. I didn't know I couldn't do this. I'm like, oh, you did know that. Because we do go over all of those things that we allow or don't allow, or expectations from both sides. You have an expectation from me, but I also have an expectation from you. And so when those are very clearly identified, that doesn't leave a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And so then throughout the entire process, there isn't a guessing game or a customer who isn't extremely happy the day they were when they signed till the day they got married. Because that's also important. You may woo them at the beginning, but if the expectations haven't been laid out, it's an issue.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you get mismatches and upset clients. I mean, it's so important. It is, we refer to that in our business of like cost of acquiring a client, right? There's all of those things that go into the cost, and you can make large investments if you want to. You don't have to, but it should align with the experience that you want to provide and meet expectations of the clients. I mean, what's wild to me is some of the, how you paint the picture of what that event's going to be like. I think we miss the boat on that a lot in our industry with trying to figure out, it's so focused on product, price, on the transactional mechanisms that we forget how to articulate the value and the relationship and the experiences and what's life going to be like and what does it feel like and how is it better than that. Like we don't talking any of those languages at all.
No, and in a word that comes to my mind, that in our business, if people are doing all the things Ryan just said, at the end of the day, you're gaining trust along the way. People want to do business with people they trust, have their best interests in mind. They trust that relationship. People in our business want to refer them to themselves as trusted advisors. It's exactly what you guys are doing throughout that process. You're creating an incredible level of trust that they know they're going to get. And when it comes to this big day, weddings specifically, and that big day, they trust all along the way that it's going to get delivered the way that you have laid it out and promised. And I don't know, just in our business, people miss the boat on how do we develop that trust in that relationship. You guys are doing a tremendous job.
Well, and I think it's finding what that opening is, because I'm like you in a way, a big space that can hold tables and can hold chairs and can hold linens is exactly the same as what I have. I mean, there is no difference. So, and no matter how you lay it out, so I may charge more at the front, they may have a service charge, and they may charge a rental charge. There's all these different ways, but at the end of the day, it's almost exactly the same. It's every one of them. And we lay that out over and over and over, like, oh, well, they're so much less expensive. Right, but did they tell you need to rent plates and forks and knives, and somebody has to put those out on the table, and somebody has to press your linens, and somebody has to do your napkins? Oh, I didn't think about that. So then it comes into education. So yeah, you can go pretty much anywhere in town, and within a couple $1,000s, you're going to have exactly the same. But I answered the phone the very first day you called, the first time you called. I responded to your email within probably 10 to 15 minutes. You text and it goes to 9 employees at one time. Where's your value? If I can respond to you like that today, and they took 4 days to get back to you and another 3 days to get you in for a tour, why do you think that will change? It's not. So, you talk about value, that's where we've capitalized on it, is because we know what the expectation is from the client just in everyday living. And so if we can exceed that, then we also point that out.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
Yeah.
But we set parameters. Don't text me at 9:30 at night and think I'm going to respond either.
Totally.
So.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too, is, yeah, you're exactly right. it gets interesting, I'm sure in your business as well, on how other people communicate their value propositions. And they think that it like translates, where it's like, it's not my fault that the other broker didn't have a value proposition and that you could text him at midnight and that was his value prop, which frankly, like we hear it all the time. We did a blitz on the phone a couple days ago where we had a small group of team we talked to 107 people that day with conversations with prospects on the phone. And we were listening into some calls, and the common theme when we were kind of having these conversations was like, well, I've got a guy. Everyone's got a guy. And okay, well, no problem. Well, what's the relationship like? And and what's he do for you? And every one of them, he picks up the phone when I call. And great. That's amazing. Is that at midnight or is that at 3? But then also, like, is that really where the bar is?
Right.
Like, I mean, yeah, we're going to pick up the phone too. Maybe not at midnight, but at 3. But then also, like, how are we articulating the value over and beyond that? So it's such a two-way street. It's communicating it, it's defining it, it's communicating it to the prospects, clients, really getting nailed in on your value. And I think what you're saying is so true and translates. Like, you can't be everything to everyone. You got to pre-qual. You got to go through the discovery phase. And if it's not a good fit, there's another one that will be.
Right. And it's setting expectations.
You said something so interesting in there too, because you mentioned at the end of the day, the product per se, like a venue, the ability to have 900 people in a room or whatever it is, is the same.
It's the same, yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing in our business. The product at the end of the day, you can, and you even said you could go here or there, and within a few percentage points, we'll call it, the costs are even going to align.
Yep.
It's the same thing in our business. At the end of the day, the products are what they are. You can only pull so many insurance policies off the shelf and deliver them, right? It's everything else we've talked about up to this point that creates that value proposition that is why the person then wants to buy that product, the venue, from you.
Correct.
And that's a piece that our industry just misses so much. And everybody's out chasing, the next lowest price. And you're never going to win that. As a consumer of insurance, and we all do that, we're not going to win that. It's the experience, the trust, the relationship, the belief, and we're all in this together. It's amazing when you connect those parallels in this conversation.
And you made a point too. People will say, this is what I want. But sometimes it's not really what they want. So, for example, we don't work on Sundays. I mean, we'll do events on Sundays. We won't tour on Sundays. I won't do a meeting on Sundays. I won't answer an email on Sundays. And if my team answers or does any of those things, well, they won't. Let's just put it that way. And then I have a client that's like, well, that's the only day that works for me. Yeah. So guess what? You're probably not a good fit. Yeah. Because if that's the only day that works for you and that's the only day we don't work, you probably will find some venue owner who is willing to come in on Sunday. Yeah. Then have an amazing time, and I'm sure it'll be great. Yeah.
Well, that's another great point, because again, when you can't articulate your value proposition in a way that resonates by listening and having the process set up accurately, then it might boil down to that, to try to win. And that is a very difficult spot. And it sets the relationship up on the wrong foot. What are you going to be doing for the rest? Because, if you did do that, hopefully that would be a one-time event for you. In our space, we could end up bringing on a client for the next decade. When do you think he's going to want to chat? It's like your point earlier.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. It doesn't ever go away.
No.
And so, and if you're in a position where you got to win that piece of business because that's your value proposition, I mean, good luck.
Right. Well, and so that we took that knowing that obviously for us, the majority of our clients, tour-wise, meeting-wise, they need to meet outside of work hours. So they work, most of them, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So then that means they need to meet with somebody outside of Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So we've taken what I'm willing to do, which is meet with you outside of those hours, and what I'm not willing to do, which is meet on Sunday. So like for us, we work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday until 8. That gives them 2
Plenty
to
of
3
opportunity.
hours after their work time during the middle of the week. Mondays are Mondays. Everybody knows that. Fridays are Fridays. I mean, if you don't have an event, you don't want to be at work at 8 o'clock at night on Friday. So it's a compromise. It works well.
Yep.
So again, we're still working to meet the needs of our client without sacrificing a lifestyle and a culture for my team, because my team has to be 100% in order to put out 100%. And if I ask and expect too much from them, they won't stay around, and then they won't be able to give the product and the expectation and the experience that we are looking for from our industry.
Yep. 100%.
That's wild. Like, I hope as people listen to this, what you said earlier, you take two seemingly polar opposite industries, and you can make such
Different,
you can make such an incredible parallel to how you have been successful. And it's the exact same way people in our business can take those same thoughts, the same logic, the same processes, and create the same kind of success.
Yep.
It's wild.
Because my guess would be the first question you get, because I know I do it, how much is it?
Yeah, 100%.
Because that's the only thing I know how to ask.
Right.
I don't know your industry. I don't know. I
Which
mean, I know a little bit. But
is a factor. Absolutely is. But it's not the only factor.
Well, no, but it's not. Again, like I said, I'm sure when I ask you a cost and you give me a price and I call this guy and his is half, he didn't add all the rest of the fees he's going to put on at the end.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know those questions to ask. And if you don't
Articulate it.
tell me and
ask
prompt
the
those,
questions.
right,
Exactly.
prompt
Goes
those
back to the
responses.
education. Like you said, it your process is, there's so much education that goes in the same thing. Because otherwise, if we fail in that education, then the assumptions are what our industry has created, which are pretty risky assumptions.
Yeah. My second favorite comment, my first one always is, we'll sign. My second always, I wish we would have signed.
Yeah,
We get that a lot.
I bet.
And then they refer their friends.
I was just going to say, and then that's a done deal.
Then we get their friends,
Yeah.
their neighbors, everyone else. Like, I wish we would have gone with them.
Yeah, like that's probably the ultimate compliment. Right?
Because again, if they choose to go somewhere else, I mean, we want the best for them.
Yeah.
And, I'm,
Yeah. Doesn't mean they're bad people or anything else. It just means and they might be the right fit at some point down the road. It's just might not be today.
right. And we may not be what they were looking for. Because as much as we have multiple different feels, they may walk in and that's just not the feel they were after. So there's no education, there's no amount of customer service, anything I could give them. They're just not a good fit.
Yep.
And that's okay, and you move on.
Well, I think a lot of great takeaways. Really appreciate you coming in today,
Yes.
Brandi. It was a blast. And
It's hopefully people will be able to get on to Google and check it out.
Yeah,
And because you do have some really awesome facilities, and
thank you.
yeah, no, that was fun. Thanks for doing it.
Yes, my pleasure.
all right, see ya.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.